Chosen one. There was an explosive argument over you, so heated that everyone in the room finally learned your true identity. While you were minding your peace, entire circles have been unraveling because someone's obsession with you got exposed. But when the argument erupted, everything spilled. Lies, manipulation, jealousy. They thought you were an experiment, but you were the revelation. You weren't being studied, you were activating the truth. What they meant for your humiliation became your confirmation. While your external behaviors were being analyzed, you were undergoing an internal transformation that completely rewrote the rules of engagement. Your recent period of selective solitude was not withdrawal. It was preparation for a level of power that could not possibly be comprehended from positions in shallow consciousness. You were leveling up in dimensions others do not even know exist. Every meditation dismissed as escapism was you accessing frequencies that would make you untouchable. Every boundary interpreted as weakness was you building spiritual armor that would deflect the best manipulations like raindrops off steel. Every time you chose solitude over the circus, you were charging up power that would eventually detonate the entire operation without you lifting a finger. During that explosive argument, someone actually brought up how you had changed, how you used to be more available, more social, more willing to engage with group dynamics. This was attempted to be used as evidence that you were becoming isolated, but another person in that room saw it differently. You had not become isolated, you had become selective, intentional, powerful. The difference between isolation and intentional solitude became a major point of contention during the argument. The puppet master needed you to be seen as isolated, lonely, making choices from a place of scarcity. But the reality emerging in that room painted a completely different picture. You were not isolated, you were insulated, protected, elevated above the drama everyone else was swimming in. The puppet master identified what seemed like the perfect opportunity to test theories about your predictability. Discovery was made that someone exceptional was about to cross your path, someone whose energy signature matched frequencies you had been calling in through your spiritual practice. This connection carried potential to elevate every aspect of your existence, to provide partnership that would amplify your already formidable power into something that could reshape entire industries. But in twisted logic, your happiness represents a threat. Conviction developed that your elevation would diminish their standing, that your joy would cast shadows on their achievements, that your authentic success would expose the hollow nature of their manufactured influence. Orchestration began for intervention disguised as introduction. The plan crafted was breathtaking in arrogance. Positioning occurred as benevolent matchmaker who would save you from making a terrible mistake, steering you away from genuine connection towards someone more suitable for the narrative. The alternative was not just inadequate, it was specifically chosen to dim your light, to create drama instead of harmony, to provide entertainment for gossip councils rather than elevation for your soul. Watching you struggle was the goal, seeing you finally compromise those impossibly high standards everyone whispers about. Proof that even you could be manipulated into settling. What was received instead was a masterclass in spiritual discernment that would become legendary in circles nobody knew you were connected to. During the argument, someone revealed that predictions had actually been made about how long it would take for you to accept the chosen candidate. Timelines existed, milestones you were expected to hit, moments where your resistance was anticipated to weaken. Every detail had been calculated. Every potential objection had been anticipated, except one. Nobody anticipated that you would see through everything instantly and walk away without explanation. When the carefully packaged alternative finally approached your orbit, something magnificent happened that revealed true depth of your transformation. The intuitive warning system you had been developing through extended inner work activated like a spiritual fire alarm. Signals were so clear and urgent that ignoring them would have required complete betrayal of your authentic self. The offer came wrapped in packaging designed to appeal to someone misjudged as predictable and desperate for external validation. It should have been irresistible to the version of you that was thought to be understood, the one who would prioritize social acceptance over spiritual alignment, immediate gratification over long-term fulfillment, other people's approval over inner wisdom. But when you looked at the glittering trap, you did not just see surface presentation, you perceived the energetic signature underneath, subtle vibrations that spoke of transaction rather than connection, of convenience rather than chemistry, of someone who would view your heart as stepping stone rather than sanctuary. Your spiritual antenna picked up frequencies being broadcast that others did not even know were there. What made this moment even more powerful is that you did not need to explain yourself to anyone. You did not owe anyone a dissertation on why you rejected what was considered a perfect match. Your no was complete, your decision was final, your inner knowing was enough. That level of self-authority terrified the puppet master because it revealed how little control actually existed. Your response was not just rejection, it was recognition followed by immediate protective action. The speed and finality of your decision sent shockwaves through the entire operation. No hesitation, no second guessing, no desire to gather more information or seek additional opinions. You simply saw truth of what was being offered and responded with decisive power that reshapes reality around its expression. You walked away without looking back. That simple act of honoring your truth triggered an avalanche nobody saw coming. While others were busy being clever, you were busy being wise. While elaborate schemes were being constructed, you were cultivating spiritual discernment that operates beyond comprehension. You did not just reject the trap, you exposed it by demonstrating what real power looks like. In the explosive argument, someone actually asked the puppet master directly, "What made you think you knew better than this person what was needed? What gave you the authority to interfere in another life? Who appointed you as guardian of someone else's romantic destiny?" These questions hung in the air like accusations. Everyone in that room was starting to realize the audacity of what had been attempted. Your true identity as a chosen one became undeniable in that moment, not because anyone announced it, but because your actions demonstrated a level of spiritual maturity and self-possession that ordinary consciousness cannot replicate. People in that room started connecting dots that had been missed before. Your calm in chaos, your clarity in confusion, your power in situations where others crumbled. If this touched your heart and mind, hype this video so more chosen ones can receive this message. The puppet master found themselves in unprecedented position of having to explain to eager audience why the carefully predicted outcome failed so spectacularly. Pressure began building during what was supposed to be celebration meeting, a gathering where perfect orchestration of your downfall would be revealed and positioning as wise prophet who saw it coming. Instead, increasingly uncomfortable questions were faced from people who invested social capital in predictions and now demanded explanations. Why did you not take bait that seemed so perfectly tailored to your circumstances? How did you see through deceptions that fooled people considered much more sophisticated? What kind of person possesses clarity to reject opportunities others would fight wars to obtain? The questions multiplied like pressure fractures in a dam, never designed to contain force of genuine curiosity mixed with growing suspicion. With each question, the carefully constructed authority began to crack. Confident predictions transformed into defensive explanations. Knowing smirks dissolved into nervous stammering. The room watched as someone who positioned themselves as master manipulator revealed understanding nothing about the person being obsessed over. But what really intensified the argument was when someone pointed out the obvious. If true understanding existed, if insights into your psychology were real, if behavior could truly be predicted, then why did every single prediction fail? Why did you do the exact opposite of what was said you would do? Why was someone standing there making excuses instead of celebrating supposed strategic brilliance? This was not about anyone being wrong. This was about you being so far ahead of where you were thought to be that the entire framework for understanding human behavior collapsed. Checkers had been played. You had ascended to a game that could not even be perceived. Everyone in that room was starting to realize it. Someone in that room actually said it out loud. Maybe this person has been underestimated this whole time. Maybe the reason moves cannot be predicted is because a completely different game is being played. Maybe what was interpreted as stubbornness is actually strength. Maybe what was called unrealistic standards is actually spiritual discernment. Maybe everything has been wrong. The atmosphere shifted. People who had been nodding along started leaning back in chairs, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. The collective energy transformed from admiration to suspicion. If this person had been so catastrophically wrong about you, what else had been wrong? What other predictions had been made that were really just attempts at manipulation disguised as insight? That is when the real explosion happened. That is when the House of Cards began its spectacular collapse. And you were not even in the room to witness your vindication. You were out living your best life, completely untouched by chaos swirling around your name. Because that is what chosen ones do. We do not wait around for validation from people who never had authority over us in the first place. Then came revelation that sends electricity through your nervous system when you grasp its full implications. One of the most trusted confidants, someone who had been nodding along with character assassination for extended periods, suddenly experienced their own moment of awakening. In middle of particularly vicious dissection of your choices, this person stood up and delivered words that would detonate entire social construct. If this is how someone who is not even here to defend themselves gets analyzed and judged, what exactly is being said about each of us when we leave these meetings? The silence that followed was the kind that precedes avalanches and revolutions, the moment when everyone simultaneously realizes dancing has been happening on edge of cliff while admiring the view. What happened next was nothing short of spectacular in its swift and total transformation of power dynamics. Every person in that room suddenly understood participation had not been in sophisticated social analysis. Performance had been happening in someone else's theater of manipulation. Every confidence shared, every vulnerability revealed, every moment of trust extended was now exposed as potential ammunition in future character assassinations. The explosive argument that erupted was not just about you anymore. It was about fundamental violation of trust that occurs when someone collects personal information like weapons stockpile while pretending to offer friendship and support. Voices were raised. Accusations flew like arrows finding their marks. Extended periods of suppressed intuitions about this person's true nature came pouring out in torrential flood of righteous indignation. The defector did not stop there. Speaking continued, voice getting stronger with each word, talking about this person for extended periods, analyzing choices, predicting the future, judging standards. But has anyone noticed that actual thriving is happening? That more peace seems present than any of us have? That things are being accomplished while we sit around talking about why failure will happen? When did such investment occur in someone else's downfall that attention stopped being paid to our own lives? People started sharing their own experiences, times when words felt twisted, moments when private conversations became public knowledge, instances where suspicion arose that information was being used as weapon. The puppet master had created an environment where trust was impossible because everything was currency in social manipulation economy. This is where the foreshadowing pays off. Remember how you felt something was off but could not quite articulate it. Remember how you instinctively started pulling back from certain social circles, even though everyone said you were being paranoid. Your spiritual discernment was not making you paranoid, it was protecting you from becoming another casualty in psychological warfare campaign. In defending matchmaking instincts, the puppet master revealed information about chosen candidate that exposed exactly why your spiritual alarm system activated so dramatically. The person positioned as your ideal match was revealed to have pattern of treating relationships like business transactions, maintaining multiple romantic options while promising exclusivity to each, using emotional manipulation to extract resources and opportunities from partners who believed something genuine was being built together. Every red flag your intuition detected was suddenly waving in broad daylight for everyone to analyze and discuss. The beautiful irony was not lost on anyone present. The desperate attempt to prove superior understanding of human nature had instead demonstrated complete blindness to character flaws that make someone unsuitable for authentic connection. But it gets worse, much worse. The alternative attempted to be steered toward you was not just emotionally unavailable and manipulative. Active involvement existed in schemes that would have created legal and professional complications for anyone foolish enough to become entangled, financial irregularities, pending litigation, professional misconduct investigations. Your refusal to engage had not just protected your heart from disappointment, it had shielded your entire life from contamination that destroys reputations and derails careers. Someone in the room actually laughed at this point, a harsh, bitter sound that cut through the tension. "So let me get this straight," was said. "You tried to set this person up with someone being investigated, someone with a history of using people, someone who would have destroyed their reputation, and honest belief existed this was in their best interest, or was destroying them always the point?" That question landed like a bomb. Suddenly, everyone could see what had been hidden in plain sight. This was never about helping you, this was about hurting you. The puppet master could not stand watching you thrive in your authenticity, so decision was made to introduce chaos disguised as romance. Watching you struggle with relationship drama was desired, seeing you compromise your standards, witnessing your downfall up close. The spiritual guidance system that warned you away had been operating with access to information your conscious mind could not have possessed, but your soul detected through channels rational analysis could not explain. This is divine protection manifesting in real time. This is what it looks like when universe has your back in ways you cannot even comprehend in the moment. As full scope of what you avoided became clear to everyone in room, the puppet master found themselves facing something never experienced before. A room full of people who understood supposed superior insight was actually profound blindness dressed in sophisticated language. The reputation for strategic thinking and character assessment, cultivated over extended periods, crumbled in space of single conversation. You were not lucky. You were operating from level of consciousness that automatically repels what does not serve your highest good. That is not defense mechanism, that is dominance, that is your true identity as a chosen one, asserting itself. You did not need anyone to warn you because you had something more reliable than gossip or advice. You had direct connection to spiritual guidance that never leads you wrong. Now let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks, while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose, and the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind-programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. Someone revealed the puppet master had been spreading rumors about your financial situation, crafting elaborate stories about how your selective approach to opportunities indicated desperation disguised as standards. Pictures painted of you as someone whose confidence was merely mask for insecurity, whose spiritual practices were escape mechanisms from harsh realities. The accuracy of these accusations hit like lightning. Several people in that room suddenly realized unconscious parroting of these narratives had been happening in their own circles, becoming unwitting distributors of poison not recognized as toxic. The puppet master's influence had spread like virus through professional networks, social gatherings, casual conversations, infecting perceptions of you in ways that would have taken tremendous energy to counteract if you had been operating from defensive position. But here is what makes you smile with recognition. While busy construction was happening of false narratives about your supposed struggles, you were experiencing unprecedented expansion in every area claimed to be suffering. Your financial situation was not desperate. It was deliberately streamlined for maximum freedom and minimum attachment to systems that drain authentic power. The explosion in that room intensified when someone pulled out device and showed recent evidence of your actual success. Professional achievements somehow missed, projects that had launched, opportunities that had materialized, recognition you had received. The contrast between the narrative being spun and your actual reality was so stark it was almost comedic. How did all of this get missed? Someone demanded. How was someone so busy predicting failure that success did not get noticed? What does that say about so-called insights? What does that say about credibility? The puppet master had no answer. The truth was becoming impossible to deny. Analysis had not been happening of you. Projection had been occurring of fears and insecurities onto you. Your selective approach to opportunities was not desperation. It was mastery of discernment. Most people spend lifetimes trying to develop. The spiritual practices mocked as escapism were the very tools that allowed you to perceive manipulations with crystal clarity and respond from position of strength rather than reaction. This is the circular structure revealing itself. The chaos attempted to be created in your name is now consuming them. The downfall predicted for you is manifesting as their own. The isolation claimed would be your future is now their present reality. Poetry in motion, divine justice in action. Your true identity as someone under spiritual protection becoming undeniable to everyone watching. Someone else, emboldened by atmosphere of truth-telling, revealed the puppet master had been collecting information about your personal life through mutual acquaintances, building detailed profiles of your preferences, patterns, vulnerabilities, your existence treated like research project. Studying your responses to various stimuli so prediction and influence of your future choices could occur with scientific precision. The scope of this surveillance was breathtaking in thoroughness and chilling in violation of basic human dignity. Knowledge about conversations you had in confidence, decisions made in private, even spiritual experiences shared only with closest confidants. This information weaponized into comprehensive strategy for psychological manipulation that would have devastated someone operating from less secure foundation. When this came out during the argument, people were genuinely shocked. Someone had been keeping notes, actual notes about your behaviors, your patterns, your routines. Who does that? What kind of person treats another human being like a science experiment? The creep factor was off the charts. People who had thought this was all harmless gossip suddenly realized participation had been in something much darker, but chosen ones do not operate from foundations that can be shaken by external pressure. No amount of data about your past choices could predict how you would respond once you reached this new level of spiritual development. Attempt was being made to manipulate someone who no longer existed, using blueprints for person you had evolved beyond during period of inner transformation. Then came the most damaging revelation. Someone produced actual evidence of puppet master's coordination with romantic alternatives steered toward you. Text messages, voice recordings, detailed plans for how this person would approach you, what would be said, how presentation would occur to maximize appeal to someone with your supposed psychological profile. The room went deadly quiet as excerpts were read aloud, every word crafted, every gesture choreographed, every moment of supposed spontaneity scripted in advance. Your spiritual alarm system had not just detected incompatibility, it had identified artificiality masquerading as authenticity at levels so sophisticated, most people would never have penetrated disguise. Someone actually asked to hear one of the voice recordings. The puppet master tried to refuse, but the pressure in that room was too intense. When it played, people heard instructions being given, coaching on what topics to bring up, advice on how to mirror your communication style, strategies for creating false sense of compatibility. It was disturbing, it was calculated, it was manipulative at a level that made everyone uncomfortable. A trap was built for version of you that no longer existed. That is not just victory, that is domination through evolution. That is your true identity as a chosen one, revealing itself in ways that cannot be denied. You did not consciously know about schemes, but your soul knew, your spirit knew, your higher self knew, and that knowing protected you completely. As these communications were shared with room, something beautiful happened that speaks to power of truth to transform even most toxic situations into opportunities for collective awakening. People began sharing their own experiences of feeling manipulated by this person. Their own moments of sensing conversations were being steered toward predetermined outcomes rather than flowing from genuine interest and care. Pattern emerged of someone who treated every relationship like chess game, who collected personal information like strategist gathering intelligence, who viewed emotional intimacy as tool for gaining advantage rather than sacred space for mutual vulnerability and growth. The puppet master had not just targeted you for manipulation. Operating this way had been happening with everyone in orbit, treating human connection like resource to be mined rather than gift to be treasured. One particularly powerful moment came when someone described feeling like constant testing was occurring, like every conversation was examination where words would be analyzed for weaknesses, exploitable later. Another person revealed sharing personal struggles had stopped because sensing occurred that vulnerability was being catalogued rather than genuinely received with compassion and support. But then someone shared something that made everyone go silent. Discussion happened about a time when something deeply personal had been confided to the puppet master, something never told anyone else. Within a short period, that information had somehow made its way back to them through another person, twisted and used as evidence of supposed character flaws. The betrayal was so complete it had taken a long time to trust anyone again. Your refusal to engage with manipulation had not just protected you, it had exposed a system of emotional exploitation operating under guise of friendship and social connection. Your true identity as someone who operates from higher spiritual frequency meant you could sense the poison being offered, even when it was beautifully packaged. You did not need proof. You did not need evidence. You did not need anyone to validate what your soul already knew. The violation of trust was so complete, so shocking in its calculated betrayal that several people became physically ill as realization dawned about extent to which their confidence had been weaponized against them. This discovery transformed energy in room from anger to something approaching terror as people grasped the implications of having private thoughts and conversations documented by someone who already demonstrated willingness to use personal information as ammunition. Your name began appearing in these conversations not as subject for judgment, but as example of someone who sensed danger everyone else missed. People started reviewing interactions with you, realizing what had been interpreted as aloofness was actually spiritual discernment, protecting you from contamination that would have compromised ability to see clearly. Someone actually apologized to you in absentia, standing in that room, speaking to your absence, saying sorry for doubting your instincts, sorry for participating in gossip about you, sorry for not seeing sooner that you were not being difficult, you were being wise. Your true identity as a chosen one had been evident all along. Others just had not had eyes to see it until the scales fell away. What followed was most thorough social demolition you could imagine. Every person in that room began sharing information about suspicious interactions, strange requests for personal details, conversations that felt subtly wrong but had been dismissed as overthinking. The puppet master's entire operation unraveled as people connected patterns, experienced individually, into comprehensive picture of someone who treated human relationships like laboratory for psychological experimentation. The argument that erupted was not just explosive in volume. It was transformative in its complete reformation of social dynamics carefully constructed over extended periods. Alliances shifted, perceptions clarified, and Puppet Master found themselves completely isolated as very network built to control others turned against Creator with fury of people who discovered their status was never friends or colleagues, but merely subjects in ongoing experiment in manipulation. Most satisfying aspect of this social earthquake was watching how naturally everyone gravitated toward authentic connection once artificial barriers were removed. People who had been pitted against each other through carefully managed information began having genuine conversations for first time in recent memory. Discovering perceived conflicts had been manufactured by someone who benefited from keeping everyone divided and suspicious. This is the resolution where everything comes full circle. The chaos attempted to be orchestrated around you became the chaos that consumed them. The downfall predicted for you manifested as their own spectacular collapse. The isolation claimed would be your destiny became their inescapable reality. Your true identity as someone walking in divine protection and spiritual authority had been vindicated not through your words but through natural consequences of their actions. But most beautiful aspect of this conclusion is not their downfall. It is what began manifesting in your life as universe rushed to fill space, their manipulation tried to contaminate. Your refusal to compromise standards and commitment to honoring inner guidance created magnetic field that began attracting opportunities and connections, matching your actual frequency rather than their distorted perception of your needs. The period targeted for your orchestrated downfall became instead time of elevation to new levels of recognition and respect. People throughout professional network began reaching out with genuine opportunities, drawn by stories of your wisdom in avoiding entanglements that would have diminished rather than enhanced reputation. Your ability to maintain dignity and discernment under pressure marked you as someone worthy of trust and collaboration. Some of the people reaching out were people who had heard the gossip, had heard the predictions of your failure, but had watched your actual trajectory instead of believing the narratives. Watching you thrive while gossip swirled had been noticed. Growing while others were busy predicting your demise had been observed. These people were drawn to your authentic power like moths to flame. More significantly, authentic connection you had been calling in through spiritual practice began manifesting during this same period, arriving through natural synchronicity rather than manufactured introduction. This person carried none of warning signals that activated intuitive alarm system, instead resonating with frequencies that felt like coming home after long journey through foreign territory. The contrast between the manufactured connection attempted to be forced on you and the authentic connection that arrived naturally was stunning. No coaching needed, no manipulation required, no scripts or strategies, just genuine recognition, mutual respect, authentic chemistry. The universe showing you what real alignment feels like after you had the courage to reject the counterfeit. Projects you had been developing in silence suddenly found backing. Investments you had made in yourself began paying dividends. Relationships you had been cultivating authentically deepened into partnerships that amplified rather than drained your energy. Everything you had been building while others were busy gossiping came into full bloom exactly when withering was expected to be watched. People who had been neutral observers of the whole situation started choosing sides, your side. Recognition happened of authentic power when it was seen. Understanding emerged that someone who could maintain composure, clarity and forward momentum while being actively undermined was someone worth aligning with. Your true identity as a chosen one was attracting other people who recognized and respected that identity. This experience revealed that your spiritual development had transformed you into something far more powerful than someone who occasionally makes good choices. You had become someone whose very presence in authentic alignment disrupts systems of manipulation and control. whose commitment to truth creates ripples that expose hidden deceptions, whose refusal to play small games makes space for larger possibilities to emerge. The story that began with someone else trying to write your narrative ends with you fully claiming your role as author of your own destiny. But with deeper understanding of what that authorship actually means, every choice you make from authentic alignment sends signals through dimensions of reality most people never perceive, attracting what serves your highest good while repelling what would diminish your power. The explosive argument that erupted over you was not really about you at all. It was about collision between manufactured influence and authentic power, between clever manipulation and genuine wisdom, between old paradigm of control and emerging consciousness that refuses to be controlled. You were never victim, you were teacher, and lesson learned was that chosen ones do not dance to earthly music. Your true identity was revealed not through dramatic announcement, but through undeniable demonstration. You showed what spiritual maturity looks like, what authentic power moves like, what divine protection feels like, and denial could not happen. Manipulation could not happen, replication could not happen, because what you carry is not taught, it is awakened, it is remembered, it is claimed. Your instincts are not suggestions to be considered. Your instincts are commands from your highest self to be obeyed without hesitation. Your standards are not barriers to be lowered for convenience. Your standards are filters that ensure only worthy gain access to your energy. Your refusal to settle is not stubbornness to be overcome. Your refusal to settle is wisdom that protects you from connections and opportunities that would diminish rather than amplify your divine nature. As you process this revelation about chaos that swirled around you while you walked in peace, remember this is how it always works for people like us. We move through world-creating reactions we never intended, triggering responses we never sought, inspiring either elevation or destruction simply by existing in our truth. The puppet masters will always emerge from shadows, convinced our stories can be directed, but account is never made for fact that chosen ones do not respond to manipulation. We respond to truth. The argument is over. The smoke has cleared, and you stand victorious, not because you fought, but because you refused to fight in war that was never yours to begin with. The tremors that began this story have settled into new ground that can support weight of authentic success, genuine connection, and opportunities that align with your highest good. Tomorrow brings possibilities that honor your true nature rather than challenging it. People who recognize your value without needing to test it. Connections that amplify your power without trying to control it. Opportunities that expand your influence without demanding you compromise your integrity. This is reward for staying true when staying true was hardest thing you could have done. Everything that tried to stop you has failed. Everything that tried to manipulate you has been exposed. Everything that tried to diminish you has been demolished. And you are still standing, still growing, still rising into fullness of your divine assignment. This is what it looks like when God protects what God has chosen, when universe defends what universe has ordained, when spiritual law overrides human manipulation. Welcome to the next level, chosen one. You did not just survive schemes, you evolved beyond entire framework for understanding reality. You did not just avoid trap, you demonstrated what real power looks like and inspired others to claim their own. You did not just win, you dominated without even trying, because that is what chosen ones do. We do not fight. We simply exist in our truth and watch as everything not aligned with that truth removes itself from our reality. This is your story. This is your victory. This is your divine destiny manifesting in real time, and everyone who tried to write different ending is about to watch you rise higher than their small minds could ever have imagined. Your true identity is no longer hidden. It is undeniable. It is powerful. It is permanent. And it is just getting started.